Hello, Walton County. This is Mike Sledge, running for Walton County Sheriff. Today I'm here with April. April has a few things to say about her daughter's incident or encounter with Walton County Sheriff's Office. If you could tell me a little bit about your daughter.
Well, I'm not going to say Danielle's perfect because I don't think anybody's perfect. You know, Danielle's had her fair share of trouble in school, but we got past that. She's a mom of a 6 and a 9-year-old. She's my daughter, and I love her. And what happened that night was just, it's unacceptable. It's unacceptable how it was handled.
Okay. Tell me what happened that evening.
That evening, my husband and I went out to dinner. I got a phone call from my son saying that there was a fight in the house. Yeah, I needed to come home right away. That he said I can't handle it. I can't handle it. I said, well, just leave. I said, I'm coming home. So I got there, and when I got there, my daughter was at my neighbor's house. She had 3 teeth. She had braces in her mouth at that time.
Okay.
When I got to her, the braces were off her teeth, and her teeth were hanging out of her mouth. Okay, she had her wrist was swollen, her ankle was swollen. She had cuts and all over her face, and she wasn't even at the house at that time. The thing that I did notice was that I guess she had started throwing stuff out the window.
Okay.
My grandson, both my grandsons were taken to my next door neighbor's house. So that was my main concern, was Danielle and my 2 grandsons. I didn't care what he was doing at this point at the house.
Okay.
But the thing that upset me was when I got there, I saw a woman walking down my driveway, and I didn't know who this person was that was going into my home. So I proceeded to follow her, and I asked her, I said, what are you doing? And she said, I'm going to get my niece and nephew. I said, I will get your niece and nephew. Please get off my property. I don't know this girl and whoever he called to my home. Okay. She proceeded to go. I asked her again to please stop, that she was trespassing. I would get her nephew and her niece for her. Continued to follow me. I turned around to her and I said, please stop right here. Do not enter my home. She took me and she threw me against my daughter's Isuzu rodeo. Okay. From there, I got thrown on the ground. Okay. I got on top of her, okay, to stop her from punching me. I mean, you know, it just amazes me how Walton County came out and they interrogated my husband and I in my garage. You have to understand that I'm 54 right now. At that time, I'm 40-something years old. And this 20-year-old or 23-year-old is jumping me.
Right.
Okay? Now, I don't care what is said in their statements, because the statements are blatant lies. Are you going to tell me that a 45-year-old woman can beat up a 20-year-old woman or is going to do something like that? I live in Walton County. I was jumped. She started punching. Yes, I did punch her back. Okay, but I'm the one that got the scratch on the face, not her.
Right.
My husband came over because he saw that she was punching, and all of a sudden, he gets punched in the back of the head by her husband. Okay, at this time, you know, my husband just went nuts, and he was a wrestler, so he grabbed him in a wrestling position. And all I heard him say was, I'm getting ready to F you up. I mean, I'm just going to be totally honest. I have nothing to lie about.
Okay.
You know, when I heard that, I just told the girl, I said, if I let you up, will you please leave my property? Well, I got up. She ran.
Okay.
I went over to my husband and I told him, I said, Shane, he's not worth it. I mean, he punched him in the head and punched him good, punched my husband good in the head, when all he was trying to do was to get us to stop fighting. Meanwhile, Josh, the one that beat my daughter up, is standing there watching this, not doing anything to stop it, any of it.
Right. And the deputies hadn't arrived at this point?
Had not arrived at this point at all. Once deputies did arrive, they went straight to him.
Okay.
They didn't care about my daughter. They went straight to him, straight to whoever was there.
Did they see your daughter standing around? Was she there on scene at that time? Or was
No,
she
they
still
didn't.
Next door?
She was actually with the EMT, I believe, at this time. She was with the EMT.
They had arrived.
They had arrived.
To check her out.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
And no, they did not come to talk to my daughter or anything like that. They just talked to him and his little entourage that was there, that had no right being at my home.
Okay.
They weren't there to start with. They shouldn't have been there at the end. Okay, and then Walton County came in, and my husband and I went in the garage, and they started talking to us about everything. And my husband just finally turned around and looked at me, because, I don't mean any disrespect. He goes, but who the hell are you to come in here into my home and interrogate me when I've done nothing wrong? This is my home.
Okay.
And the officer he really didn't have a whole lot to say about anything, Yes, Danielle did break a windshield. Yes, she did break headlights. I'm not going to lie for anything that she might have done, but he was throwing her. I mean, I had cornhole games, and I showed the officers this.
To my understanding, wasn't, and correct me if I'm wrong, but after that happened, did he not retaliate to her vehicle or something?
Absolutely did. Yes, he did.
Okay,
and he
so-
actually locked her phone and her keys in her car, so she could not dial 911. That's why he was able to dial 911. And the police report probably doesn't tell you that the officer had to unlock her car for her so she could get her phone and keys out. So they know that's interfering with a 911 call.
Correct.
But no, nothing happened with that as well.
Okay.
And the thing that bothers me most of all is the fact that when they left that night, they took my daughter. They did not take him. If there was any doubt, or if they thought that Danielle was in the wrong, you know what? I don't have a problem with that. Arrest both of them, not just one person.
Right.
Not with those pictures that you have. Absolutely no way.
With those, I'm gonna let you show your pictures.
When I picked up Danielle from, and that's another thing, Walton County, the EMT asked Danielle if she wanted to go to the hospital. Danielle said, no, I would rather my mom take me.
Correct.
Well, and obviously, I'm going to show you these pictures, and obviously, it's very upsetting when the officer, Walton County Sheriff's Department, because that's what comes out to mind, not Loganville, Walton County, okay? I said, she needs to go to the hospital. The EMT said, we'll take her to the hospital for you. Well, that was a crock, because they never took her to the hospital.
You're
They
saying
took her straight.
Walton County Sheriff's Department said that they would take
They
her to the
absolutely
hospital.
did. They
Okay.
told her that they were going to take her to the hospital.
Okay.
Okay? They did not do that. They took her straight to jail. So when I picked her up, I took her to the emergency room. This is her arm. These are her two knees. That's another picture of her knees. That's a picture of her hand, both her hands. That's a picture of her elbow. That's a picture of her. The reason why I took a picture of her eye is because he almost busted her orbit in her eye. She was very
So
lucky.
you're saying he almost busted the
Orbit in her eye. I have doctor's notes that, see, that's what upsets me so bad, is that nobody has ever seen or read any of the doctor's reports. The doctor report says blunt trauma force to the mouth. I mean, that's from a doctor.
Okay.
A dentist. She had, that's her stomach. Okay? That was 3 days later. This was that night. Okay? So he hit her really hard, kicked her really hard, or did something really hard. Okay? That was her broken ankle. Okay, but this is the aggressor that we're talking about. Her knee again. Her hand again. Her mouth, where she had full braces. Okay. Her face. That's the scratch that I received when I was jumped. Not a major scratch, but I don't expect to get that at my own home.
So for your scratch at your house defending your property, were there any charges taken against the young lady?
Absolutely not, because from what I understand, they told Walton County that I jumped her and that my husband jumped her husband. That is such a blatant lie, and Walton County was stupid enough to believe that. And that's why...
But then again, they're saying your daughter was a primary aggressor in the incident, but she was arrested that day and that time.
Right.
Am I correct?
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
But then here you have a primary aggressor. According to them, you and your husband were a primary aggressor, but no one was arrested.
Mm-mm.
Okay. I'm sorry for cutting you off.
No, that's fine. That's her elbow. We've seen her knees already, her ankle. That's her other arm. Her stomach again. Those 3 teeth, she had to have root canals on. Because they were knocked out of her mouth, out of her braces. But she got arrested. Face again. This is when she told the judge. She went in front of the judge. And the judge told the DA and called up Brett Mazurek. And as she was telling the story, you could see where he tried to choke her. Yeah, I'd beat his ass myself. That Judge Johnson told the DA and also told Brett Mazurek, get her off my stand. I am not going to put her through this again. Go downstairs and take care of this. At that point, we thought it was over with. But Brett sat on it for a long time. Okay? And Danielle did get in trouble again. She had her cousin staying with her at the house. And the cousin came to pick up her kids. Danielle wouldn't let them go because the cousin had been drinking. But that's, like, I'm more concerned about that than anything else. Okay, because I feel like the Walton County Sheriff's Department did not do an investigation. Obviously, they're not educated enough to see what kind of wounds they were. We went to Walton County, or my daughter went to Walton County to get a TPO out on Joshua Vlahos, and they would not grant it to her. But yet, she goes to Gwinnett County. They sit in front of the judge. The judge listens to her side and listens to his side, and blatantly told him, I don't believe you. I'm looking at this girl here that's hysterical, crying. He goes, and you have nothing, and he's just attacking her. And she said, I'm granting her TPO. You're to stay away from her.
But wouldn't do it at home in Walton County?
No, Walton County would not do that. My own county.
So when, I guess, you were totally unsatisfied with the outcome of this, did you ever approach the Walton County Sheriff's Department
absolutely.
in reference to the incident?
I tried calling the DA because at that time there was a big article in the Walton Tribune about family violence, which is a crock of shit, because when I called the DA to talk to her about that, never called me back.
Okay.
I decided to go see Joe Chapman myself. I had met him before because I owned a garage door company, and he gave me his card and told me, if you ever need me, give me a call.
Okay.
So I went to see Joe Chapman. When I sat down, and I have a friend who's a witness to this. She's got chemo, so she couldn't come with me today, but I wanted her to. But he just started yelling, threatening to arrest myself, my husband, and my son. And that he doesn't question his deputies, and he stands by whatever they say. And when I left there, I was mortified. I was like, I have felt violated in my own home, violated by my own sheriff's department, violated by my county, and it's like, why am I here? Why am I living here? I mean, it's just, it has changed my whole life. I mean, ever since that day, the divorce was basically because of everything that had happened. Because it cost us $10,000 for an attorney who did absolute crap. It's horrible. And I really honestly feel that Joe Chapman just stands by whatever his deputies say. Whatever he allows them to do, he doesn't question them. He lets them do whatever they want. Obviously, they're not educated if they can't tell a defense room. And I think that somebody needs to get in there and, there's got to be classes, there's got to be something where the deputies could sit down and determine who's the aggressor and who's not, because it's clear.
Right. So I'm assuming you had to deal with, I'm going into the medical portion of this. What do you think an incident like this actually, as far as like financial burden put on your family?
Oh, good God. Probably about $20,000, if not more. And that was a big burden because my husband had to take that out of his retirement. And it just, life that day for Danielle, because it just went downhill.
So if, let's say, it worked out differently, the primary aggressor was him. Mm-hmm. There were ways to be compensated for this kind of stuff. if it was properly investigated, someone else would have been responsible and someone else would have been held liable for these injuries to her. But instead, where's your daughter now?
Pulaski State Prison.
Pulaski State Prison for how long?
She's supposed to have 5 due to, but for some reason they've gotten everything messed up, and I mean they're not looking at her till 2016, and it's for criminal damage to property,
Okay.
which is asinine to me because I don't even think child molestation. It's upsetting. Pedophiles, I don't even think get that. DUI drivers don't even get that. I mean, and they're killing people on the road, and that's what kills me. And that's another thing I know about Walton County. I know somebody that had 5 consecutive DUIs, didn't serve 1 night in jail.
And why is that?
I guess he had a good attorney.
Had a good attorney. Okay.
I guess they're not worried about that in Walton County. You could drive drunk on the road and kill somebody, that's okay. But you get beat up and you go to jail.
Right.
Walton County is so screwed up, it's not even funny, because those are things you need to be concerned about.
If there's anything you want to tell anybody, this is your moment to tell anybody. How you feel about just dealing with Walton County Sheriff's Department, how you feel about the justice that was served during your incident, during your
No
case.
justice. There was no justice at all.
How you personally received talking to Sheriff Joe Chapman as far as walking away, because I'm asking this of you because there's a lot of people that just say Joe Chapman is the greatest thing since sliced bread.
Well, I don't know what they're dealing with, and they must be getting their palms greased by somebody, because Joe Chapman is not the best thing since sliced bread. I'm here to tell you that. When I talked to him in his office and he treated me and belittled me the way he did, and that's another thing. I'm not asking for anything special because I live in Walton County, but this gentleman and his family were called from Lawrenceville, Gwinnett County, into my county. Okay? I'm not happy with Joe Chapman. I've never been happy with Joe Chapman. There's other issues I've had with Joe Chapman, with letting kids, get drunk at parties and calling the Georgia Patrol captain and getting these kids together and just slapping them on the hand, underage drinking. There's just so much crap that has gone on in this county that it's absolutely atrocious. It's horrible. I mean, my experience with Joe Chapman, I don't ever want to deal with that man again. I'm sure there'll come a time. Okay, but we need this county to be better than it is. We need fairness. We need, and I'm not saying all the police officers are bad. I'm not saying that at all. But the ones that came to my house and interrogated my husband and I, no. I mean, that's just ridiculous. I just think that we need somebody better than Joe Chapman. He's not been good for Walton County. Hasn't been good for Walton County in a long time. Everybody says he owns the county. Maybe he does. But Mike, I want you to come to this county. I'm not asking you to get my daughter out of jail. That's not what I'm doing, okay? What I'm trying to do is, you see this right here? I don't want anybody's daughter to go through this and get thrown in jail for a man beating her. I don't give a crap what my daughter's done in her life. Nobody deserves this kind of beating. Nobody deserves to get their teeth knocked out of their mouth and have to have root canals. Nobody deserves this.
Then wind up in jail for 2 years.
And wind up in jail for 2 years. Nobody deserves that.
Totally agree. Well, I appreciate everything that you just said. We all have to come together to prevent this kind of stuff from occurring.
We've got to get more people to come out and speak, though, and too many people are so scared.
There are. I receive, I'm just going to throw out a number because I can't recall, but on a daily basis, I get at least 10 stories of what was done, how they approached the sheriff's department, how they were turned away from the sheriff's department. No one's hearing them, or yet alone, I'm gonna go back and refer back to the Jacob Little case, the child that was ran over. Well, he was a teenager. He was ran over on Highway 11 in front of the Waffle House. He was contacted for the first 6 months on a steady basis, to where Joe Chapman talked to him for a brief moment, to where there was no more communication in reference to his case, period. 2.5 years after that, he gets a call from the cold case investigator saying, hey, I've been put on your case. So basically what happened, from after that 6 month mark, we close the file, we lay it over here, Not to mention any bit of evidence from the vehicles that may have hit that child is gone. 2 years later, if there was any DNA underneath a car, you have to mention if it's salvaged, that case is gone. As this one, no one puts the time into it. Especially a person in that position as a sheriff. If you approach me and say, look at this, I think that this needs to be looked at. It needs to be reopened. That's why we're here. That's why the sheriff's office is there. Your tax dollars deserves that moment.
It sure does, but it doesn't get that.
Well, with this new administration that I'm bringing, I guarantee you, if anybody comes through my door with stuff like this, I'm going to ask questions. Mm-hmm. Because again, as you said, he says, I'm not going to question anybody's decision. We're human. It's no telling what that deputy was going through that day, where he came from. I understand we go to death calls, we go to bad accidents. We make mistakes as officers and deputies. We do. We're human. This deserves a second look.
I think it did, and that's why I went to him.
And it should have at that point in time.
No recourse whatsoever. No.
But instead, slam the door in your face, send you out with a bad taste in your mouth, but then you're still paying Walton County taxes every day to a point where, let's say you have another emergency. How comfortable would you feel with dialing 911?
I won't dial 911. I just won't do it. Because there's no justice. I mean, I know what'll happen. I'll call 911 and I'll get locked up for something. And so no. My daughter he's come to, this gentleman that beat her up has come, he came to our house, this is the reason why she's in, is because she got another charge, because he came, my grandson seen him pushing her. I will tell you that she did, when she was on probation, she tested positive for marijuana. Like I said, daughter's not perfect. Tested positive for marijuana, okay? Was waiting till my grandson's birthday to be with him before she turned herself in. He shows up at my house, okay? But he knew there was a warrant out. Started pushing her around. My grandson was watching. He took the baseball bat, busted her window, okay? And then
so he started
it.
Okay.
She finished it. He called 911. What do you think happened?
2 years later, we're in prison.
Yeah.
Bullied.
Yeah. Then Walton County Sheriff's Department. This is the real kicker. She was in jail because of all this that was going on, and they let her out a day early. So they came back that day, picked her up, and put her back in. You're that damn stupid that you don't know when someone is getting in and out of jail?
Well, actually, that's
pretty
not
sad.
very uncommon. A lady called me the other evening. I spoke with her. I'm not going to mention names. They woke her son up, who's a current inmate at Walton County Jail. They woke him up at 3 a.m. to transport him back to a state facility. However, the state facility doesn't even receive people on Fridays. So you woke him up, I guess you could say inconvenience him, but you don't even know what's going on inside.
But see, the sad thing is that these are, and I hate saying it, but these people that are in there are more like animals than anything else, because it's not, they don't see it as an inconvenience to that person because of what they've done wrong. It's like Joe Chapman has never done anything wrong. The deputies have never done anything wrong. Let me tell you something. My daughter went to school with some of these deputies. Let me tell you, they're not perfect, okay?
Right.
People do change.
Right.
If given the opportunity, they do change.
Well, we've had 12 years to change things in Walton County.
It's not going to change
deputies.
while he's in office. It's not going to change. As long as he's Walton County Sheriff, nothing is going to change. My life will probably be miserable, but nothing's going to change. I hate living here. Hate it. But I don't have a choice.
Right.
I wish I could call this my home, but after that, this is not my home. It's just not. I don't feel safe here at all.
you amongst others, and when I say others, there's several hundreds of people that have reached out and said, please, I'm going to tell you my story, but don't release my name, because I don't want retaliation. I don't want to get pulled over. I don't want drugs put in my car while I get pulled over. When is Walton County, when are we as citizens going to wake up and say, enough's enough, it's time to take back our county? Well, guess what? Tuesday comes a time. It comes a such time. We can all get together, rally up at the courthouses and at the polls. You make your decision. You can choose Joe Chapman or you can write in Mike Sledge. My personal preference is you write in Mike Sledge because, again, we want a greater, better, and a safer Walton County. We want a fair and equal Walton County. I don't want to hear the system of padding pockets, or I have the sheriff in my back pocket, or
Sheriff owns the county, that's the worst one.
or he owns the county.
I can't stand that.
Nobody owns the county. The taxpayers own the county. Everybody that sits on those seats have a job. You have a position based off of taxpayers. You're held accountable, which currently in Walton County Sheriff's Department, there is no accountability. Zero. You have departments that clearly are running rampant. They do what they want to do, to where there's a current lawsuit based on a confidential informant planting narcotics in a vehicle. And the only thing that we did, the way we held that department accountable, was we dismantled it and displaced those people throughout the sheriff's department. Is that the right thing to do? If you have officers that are running loose and they're doing illegal activities, dismantling a unit and spreading them throughout the department is not the proper answer. It's kind of, as we said in our campaign, it's a cancer. If we keep feeding it, all it does is spread. I hate to eat, well, I'm beating myself up, but he said, quote, I hate a bad apple. But you do nothing about those bad apples. You just move it out of your way and out of your sight so you don't see it. Not with this administration. It's time for a change. It's time for a real difference. I thank you so much, April, for coming forward and speaking with us. I hope a lot of people hear this story. And hopefully this is not one of those situations where it makes people afraid to dial 911. Because when you see stuff like this and you hear that someone got beat up and they wind up in jail, people pull back, they withdraw. They don't want to call the police. That's not what 911 is for. 911 is there to help serve and protect the citizens of Walton County, or yet alone any other county, any other state.
That's what it should be anyway.
And in this case, that system has failed you, and I'm sorry. But I keep saying I promise, because that's exactly what I'm going to do. I promise to you that those pictures will not happen. I can't stop the actual physical act of those pictures, but the cases will be properly investigated.
No, I appreciate that. That's what needs to happen. I mean, something like this can't be let go ever again to another woman.
Yes, ma'am.
You know, and I don't care what, a man should never, ever, ever, ever do this to a woman, ever.
But not even just man, boyfriend. If y'all just think back, we all have little sisters. We all have moms. If you saw those pictures and you saw someone did that to your sister or your mother, as men, you can't tell me it's not going to create an inner fire inside of you and you want to go handle business. With the proper investigations, with the proper arrests, a lot of this stuff will cease and assist immediately, because they know there's no room. If I do these kind of things and they're properly investigated, I'm going to wind up in prison. That is my destination, a state prison. thank you from the bottom of my heart for coming forward and speaking with us about this.
You're more than welcome.
And I'm definitely, and I've told you this, I'm going to go out and talk to her because I would like personally to hear more about what happened from her herself. Because these things need to be addressed and things need to be looked at. As the new Walton County Sheriff, I plan to open a lot of existing closed cases that people have said, oh, here you go, done deal, we're good, we made an arrest. But it wasn't 100% justice. Just because you made an arrest doesn't mean it was the right arrest.
You're exactly right.
So there's a lot of cases that will be reopened and be looked at. Again, I thank you for coming out.
We just need to win.
Yes, ma'am, we need to win.
We need to win.
Citizens of Walton County, Tuesday is coming up. I need you to stand up, stand tall and proud, walk to your nearest poll, write in Mike Sledge for Walton County Sheriff, and enjoy the changes that are coming to Walton County. A new, a safer, and a true better Walton County. We're building this together. We have to be proud together. So I ask that we all stand strong together. Thank you very much, and God bless.